Welcome everyone to this video briefing here about what we've got going on as far as severe weather and fire weather tonight. And I'm also going to take the opportunity to take a little bit of a deep dive with some of the latest model data on what we're looking at as far as tomorrow's severe weather goes. So, starting off for what I wanted to talk about as far as going on tonight, starting off here with the infrared satellite loop from this evening. And a couple things I want to point out here is obviously you can see this huge band of thunderstorm activity I've got along with the satellite imagery. I've also got the GOES lightning mapper, lightning detections overlaid, and you can see just a huge amount of lightning here with this evolving uh, large band of thunderstorms extending from southern Minnesota down into Kansas. And back here to the west, you can see these enhanced clouds, these colder cloud tops. And this is actually here the upper level trough of low pressure that's driving these disturbances to the northeast through like Nebraska and South Dakota that are uh, helping to develop these intense thunderstorms in the very warm, humid, and unstable atmosphere to the east of a dry line that extends, well, it's a front and a dry line that extends down into Nebraska, Kansas, down into Oklahoma, Texas Panhandle. So far, and given the time of day, it looks like south of southern central Kansas, it looks like most of the thunderstorm activity has been capped off today by warmer air aloft in the atmosphere. But through this region here from central Kansas up into southern Minnesota, we've seen numerous severe thunderstorms for the last several hours. And if we look at the current watches from the Storm Prediction Center, you can see we have tornado watches in effect now all along this band of severe thunderstorms, which has produced now. Let's refresh this to make sure we got the latest and greatest. Yeah, just over 225 reports of severe weather today. There have been a few scattered around the southeast and also in the Great Lakes, but as you can see, most of the reports have been here with this band of severe storms in the middle of the country. We're up to over 50 or up to 15 reports of 2-inch or larger diameter hail, 8 reports of measured wind gusts of 75 miles an hour or greater. There have also been several tornadoes reported. Um, the most significant appears to have been in central uh, Nebraska near the town of St. Libory, where there's been some chaser video of a pretty impressive looking tornado that impacted that area. Unfortunately, some damage to structures has been reported. It also looks like there might have been a tornado embedded within the line of storms in far western Iowa to the south of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And there have been a couple of other, at least brief tornadoes associated with the initial supercell thunderstorms that developed. And then as it's evolved into a line, there have been a couple of embedded tornadoes within it. Um, right now, there are a few tornado warnings still in effect, but when I was looking at the radar, I'm going to pop the radar up here onto the screen. Have been a few tornado warnings still in effect. The last time I looked here, it didn't appear like anything too ominous was ongoing. Um, Certainly, there's some embedded rotation within this line of severe storms, which has kind of been alternating back and forth between it. It started as supercells and it evolved into more of a line, then kind of broke back up into uh, more of a cellular band of more discrete storms, but now seems to be really solidifying into a line that's running from uh, northwest Iowa, down through the Omaha area and down here into central Texas or central Kansas. So we're expecting that this complex of severe storms is going to continue in moving east and through the overnight. And as low level winds increase, we'll probably continue to see a risk of embedded tornadoes along uh, as this line moves east, especially over the next few hours. And I'm going to show here in a few minutes how these thunderstorms are forecast to evolve overnight, at least based on the high resolution model. Before we jump into that, I also want to talk about the fire weather situation. I'm going to start off here with this. This is a shortwave infrared loop. So this is infrared imagery, but it's using, excuse me, a different channel of the infrared imagery using the shorter wavelength. And this enables us to be able to see the hot spots associated with wildfires. And you can see there are several hot spots pretty clear um, on the satellite. The largest one appears to be this one here in southeast New Mexico. That you can actually see this large. If you look really closely, there's you can actually even see the smoke plume coming off of it in the infrared imagery, and it actually eventually looks like it masks this uh, hotspot here over the Texas Panhandle to the west of Amarillo. There's another large wildfire ongoing here near the border of the Oklahoma Panhandle and southeastern Colorado that eventually kind of gets covered up with smoke and clouds. There's been another large wildfire ongoing here in south central to southwestern Kansas, and a couple of other small hotspots that you can see at times through here. Um, this this activity is going on within an environment that's the relative humidity bottomed out across much of this region down in the single digits um, this afternoon with sustained winds of 20 to 30 miles an hour, frequent gusts up to 40 to 45 miles an hour. So it's a very volatile environment for wildfires. If you look closely, you can actually see some of these hot spots, particularly the one here in uh, Colorado and the one here in New Mexico. You can actually kind of see them morphing and growing a little bit as the winds push them to spread. Um, Obviously, these kind of conditions are very difficult for firefighters to work in when the hot and dry conditions with all of the wind makes for very volatile conditions. And unfortunately, we're expecting a similar type day, perhaps with even stronger winds than we saw today. We're going to be looking at tomorrow. So let's talk a little bit about what we're expecting overnight into. Um, oop, sorry about that. Come on. Uh, there we go. Um, so let's take a look here at the oh, for Christ's sake, live television. So I don't know why it's doing that. Let me try a different uh approach. So let's take a look here. I want to start off by looking at the forecast um radar imagery from this is from the high resolution rapid refresh model, and this is from the latest and greatest run of the model that is in processing right now. It isn't even fully in yet. Um, Starting at the model run, it's initialized using data at 7 p.m. Central Time, and you can see the model has a pretty good idea. This is just so it's 1 hour forecast. It has a pretty good idea of the position of this band of severe thunderstorms across the central part of the country. And as time goes on, you can see that this um, band of storms pushes east pretty rapidly across Iowa and starts to build down into northern Missouri, but kind of just stays hung up here across central Kansas, and that's because the there's not as much of a push in the atmosphere to really force those thunderstorms to move farther south. And so with time, this is 2 a.m. Central Time. You can see we have kind of this east-west band of intense storms now extending from central Kansas into northern Missouri, while the activity has continued to spread more rapidly to the east here across Iowa and into Wisconsin. And there will continue to be a risk of severe weather with these storms as they push east. That risk will gradually diminish with time, but certainly as the storms are moving across Iowa, northern Missouri, northeast Kansas, they're going to continue to have a significant risk of severe weather, including wind damage, potentially some tornadoes, and large hail. And as you might suspect, as these storms are stalling out here across northern Kansas, we're likely to see some heavy rainfall. And let's take a look and see what the model is actually showing here as far as rainfall to this point. And you can see there's a pretty substantial band here of 2 to as high as 4 inches of rainfall, which could certainly cause some flash flooding issues. Let's go forward a couple more hours, and you can see here some 3 to 4 inch totals north of Kansas City in the St. Joseph area. So definitely there will be some concern for flash flooding um, across northern Kansas and into northern Missouri as these storms go through this period of slow movement. With time, eventually the storms continue to weaken, and the boundary associated with these storms pushes down into central Missouri, central Illinois. And if we look at the dew point forecast, this is for 5 a.m. Central Time tomorrow morning. We can see very clearly in the dew point forecast from the model and the winds, you can see very clearly this atmospheric boundary associated with the outflow from this thunderstorm complex running across southern Kansas, southern Missouri, and then up into central Illinois. And if we follow this, we're now up to um, 7 a.m. Central Time. You can see that this boundary kind of just stalls out. And what we have going on here is I'm going to go up in the atmosphere to um, 500 millibars. So we're looking here at about 18,000 feet. And the image here is wind speed. The lines are contours of heights, which are similar to pressure on a surface weather map. You can see here we've got these stronger winds coming across southern Colorado and northern New Mexico during the late morning hours tomorrow. And that's associated with this main upper level disturbance that's going to be coming up out of this upper level trough into the central plains tomorrow. And as this happens, if we go back to the dew point forecast, now we're at noon. You can see we have an area of low pressure that's developing at the surface. There's really kind of two here. There's one developing right with the upper level system over the Colorado New Mexico border, and this front extends out to another low pressure system developing here over central Kansas. And you can see that the winds are becoming more south to southeasterly um, ahead of this developing low pressure center, and this is allowing these the higher dew points to surge back north toward northeast Kansas and southeastern Nebraska. The purple here are 70-degree plus dew points, and as we go in time, you can see this higher level, the higher moisture values really in the model world anyway, spread over northeast Kansas into the Missouri Valley region. You can still see this lingering boundary, remnants of this boundary here across southern Missouri, and that may play a role in some of the severe weather tomorrow this could enhance some severe weather activity depending on where exactly it sets up. One of the things to keep in mind is that um, this is just one um, this is just one model forecast where we'll have several other high resolution models that'll come in through the evening that will give us kind of an ensemble of what to expect. But this is the general idea of what we expect tomorrow. The exact details will probably vary some. It's because it's a pretty complex setup. But anyway, as we go through time, the upper level disturbance is going to be coming in here into Nebraska and western Kansas tomorrow mid afternoon. This is the 4 p.m. Surface forecast for the dew points. You can see we have this low pressure center here, backed southeast surface winds to the east of it. The atmosphere is going to become very unstable through here. Let's take a look at that. Let's look at the surface-based CAPE. And you can see here we have values of surface-based CAPE approaching 5,000, or actually exceeding 5,000 joules across central Kansas near what we call this triple point. And so this is the area, depending on exactly where it sets up, that's probably going to have the highest risk of tornadics, intense tornadic storms tomorrow afternoon and early evening as storms erupt along this triple point region and move off to the northeast. So this area from central Kansas up into southeast Nebraska and maybe into southwestern Iowa and northwest Missouri is probably going to have the highest risk of tornadic storms tomorrow afternoon. We'll also have to keep an eye on this. You can see here in the this is convective available energy for tomorrow afternoon. You can see that this old outflow boundary from tonight's thunderstorm activity in the model world is across southern Missouri, and uh, this boundary could also serve as a focus for supercell thunderstorm development. It will probably not be as uh, volatile of an environment, but this is still an area that we should be watching for potential severe weather. And if we look at the actual forecast of in the model world of where supercells are forecast in the model, you can see this is basically where we're showing rotating thunderstorms. You can see these storms starting to erupt across north central Kansas and south central Nebraska at 21Z, which is 4 p.m. Central Time. And you can see them moving off to the northeast across southeast Nebraska and northeast Kansas. But you can also see in the model world is some development here across southern Missouri that we would want to keep an eye on as well. So eventually that activity, in at least in the model world and likely in the real world by tomorrow evening, should form into, again, more of a squall line, which would continue to have a risk of uh, severe weather, including tornadoes, large hail, and some significant wind damage, especially like from central Iowa, south, and especially down here into northwest Missouri and into eastern Kansas, where the atmosphere will be the most unstable. So it definitely looks like a pretty volatile day tomorrow. The Storm Prediction Center has a moderate risk of severe weather. Let's take a quick look at that here. The latest update. Uh, well, let's look quick. This is the day one. This is for the rest of tonight. You can see the slight risk ascending into eastern Iowa down into south central Kansas. As these storms move farther east, the threat will be decreasing, but there is still a marginal risk into parts of central Illinois and southwest Missouri. But then if we look at the day two outlook, I want to call it the 4 panel, we can see this moderate risk across Kansas and southeast Missouri or southeast Nebraska with a large enhanced area surrounding it. And you can see that the Storm Prediction Center has this SIG2 area for tornadoes, which means that there's an enhanced risk of strong to violent tornadoes in this region that I was pointing out earlier. Very large to giant hail, also potential with these intense supercells as they develop in the mid to late afternoon, and then increasing wind damage risk as we go through time and these storms continue to push east into Iowa and eventually up into the upper Midwest. So, the other thing I want to talk about real quickly for tomorrow is the fire weather situation. And let's take a look at the fire weather outlook for tomorrow. And you can see here we have another day of extremely critical conditions centered on the Oklahoma and Texas panhandles, up into southwest Kansas, extreme southeast Colorado, northeast New Mexico, with a large critical area surrounding that back into the area just to the east of Albuquerque down across El Paso. Um, Winds look like they may actually be a little stronger tomorrow than we saw today. Let's take a look. I've not looked at the latest high resolution forecast for tomorrow, but let's just take a quick peek. Wind gusts. Let's go ahead and go out to like 21 hours. And you can see here there's a period where there's um, 40 to perhaps as high as 50-mile-an-hour gusts. So similar, maybe just slightly stronger than what we saw today in this region. But sustained winds will be 20 to 35 miles an hour. Again, expecting very low relative humidity values, down below 10%. So obviously, we already have several large wildfires ongoing in this region. Um, and tomorrow is going to be another difficult day, I'm sure, as far as firefighting with hot, dry, and windy conditions again. And eventually, the cold front is going to start pushing south through that area, which is going to cause another wind shift. The winds are going to shift from the west to more of the north, and that'll be another complicating factor for controlling the ongoing and any new wildfires that develop tomorrow. So that's going to wrap up what I wanted to post or to talk about tonight. Before I go, did anybody have any questions or want to put anything in the chat um, as far as questions about either what's going on tonight or what we're expecting tomorrow? All right, not seeing anything. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. Gonna keep a chat open for the rest of the evening, and we'll be doing more chats and videos tomorrow as this next wave of weather ramps up. So, thanks everybody for being with Balanced Weather and being subscribers, and we will talk to you all soon. Have a great rest of the night.